All right. Welcome to episode 74 of the Jake Blanchard podcast. First, a little housekeeping. Shout out to fellowshipbrand.com. They make amazing beard oils and butters, as well as tattoo balms. JBP at checkout gets you 10% off your purchase on those premium men's grooming products. Also, Stream to See makes a mineral-based personal care products and sunscreen. They were voted #1 mineral-based sunscreen on the market by Rolling Stone magazine. Check them out, streamtosee.com. And again, that code JBP will get you 10% off. My guest today, J.M. Ryerson. He's the host of the Let's Go Win podcast. He's also the author of the Amazon bestseller, Let's Go Win, The Keys to Living Your Best Life, and the Champions Playbook. He's a performance coach as well, with over 2 decades of experience building companies and sales team. He coaches athletes, executives, leaders with a focus on helping others achieve their peak performance, find balance, and most importantly, live their best lives. JM, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate you, brother.
Oh, for sure. Hey, where's home for you? Where are you living at right now?
Well, home would be Boca Raton, Florida. Just as I told you off air, just recently moved from California, but I'm from Montana originally. I'm a small town kid that just kind of have cruised around the country, but I live in Florida now, man. So it's we're doing some beach stuff now.
Oh, I like it. Yeah, Boca Raton's a good spot to do some beach stuff for sure. When you said you're from Montana originally, I'm interested in kind of that backstory. How does one growing up in Montana kind of follow this career maturation arc into coaching and consulting and all that good stuff? Maybe take us on a little nature walk here.
That's a good question, man. I mean, honestly, I didn't have any idea coming out of college. I graduated from University of Montana eventually. I actually grew up in Idaho before Montana. So you're in Boise, I know this area decently well. But anyway.
Where were you in Idaho? I got to ask.
Twin Falls, Idaho, from 0 to 8 years old, and then on up to Great Falls, Montana. So I lived in the Falls area, and then
just a cascading childhood. Just
very good. So yeah, man, I grew up, an athlete like most of us, playing sports, loved it. I guess that's where the win theme came from. But, I definitely got into, once I hurt my knee and I was done playing ball in college, I ended up studying abroad, really dove into reading. I think that's where the journey of self-development and all this started, because I was on a lot of trains in Europe, cruising around, eating PBJs, drinking bad beer, just anything to get along while reading all these books. And it took me on this path, man, where I wanted to continue to learn and learn. But after I graduated, went to California, and eventually met my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and 2 kids, opened up 3 businesses. And what I learned through the way is, as I continued to accumulate knowledge, I wanted to share that with other people. So I guess that's the shortest answer I can give to kind of my journey to Let's Go Win. But it is funny. I have a story I journaled about Let's Go Win when I was literally 21 or 20 years old. And I lost that journal in, a bin of stuff.
Oh no. And
I found it after we moved to Florida. And it was like, holy cow, I've been marinating on this idea for 20 years. I just didn't realize it. So I had to take it from the subconscious and bring it forward, man. So that's been kind of the journey. It's been awesome.
Dude, I've got to tell you a quick story in that same vein real quick. There's when I was a kid, I was probably 7 or 8 years old. And I wrote a book about a guy named Mick Parsons. Okay. Just a short, like coloring, like whatever. And in that book, Mick goes on these various adventures. One of the things that he does, and for some reason, I was living in Louisiana at the time. I don't know why I picked this college team, but for some reason he hit a home run, and I authored this, right? He hit a home run to win the College World Series for UCLA. Don't know why I picked that. It just so happens later in life, I ended up working for UCLA Medical Center when UCLA won the College World Series in 2013. And my parents, they cannot find this book, and it's driving me crazy because I knew I wrote a whole bunch of other stuff in this book as well, including one of the guys who I left that job for that did not want to hire me for the next job. And shout out. I'm sure he liked me, but he maybe didn't think I was a good fit. but his last name ended up being Parsons, and his first name was very similar to the name in the book. So I don't want to shout out, his whole name, but at the same time, it's like you have these like thoughts or these things that happen early in life, and then they just kind of permeate through. They show back up again later, and you have to do something about it. So hopefully I can find that book and maybe find an insight.
I would love for you to, because I mean, look, whether people call it woo woo or science, energy is real. So putting stuff out there, and this is one of the things I coach on. I'm like, look, you have to speak it into existence. That's just the way it works. If you rest on your laurels and you're thinking, oh, I have this amazing idea, but it's inside your head the whole time, it's never going to come to fruition. So it's so interesting, whether that's Manifest Destination that you did or whatever, man, something, it is real. And by you simply putting it out there, it's amazing how this stuff, and I don't believe in coincidences. I really don't. I believe that you put something out there. Hence, UCLA was in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Then this Parson guys comes along, and you're like, dude, did this happen already? What's going on? But anyway. I digress. I could go down a whole rabbit hole on that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, let's just get right to the meat on the bones here. Your book's called Let's Go Win. So what's winning, man? Like let's talk about winning.
God, it's a beautiful question. And here's why. The book is, and the company is Let's Go Win, but it's not about wins and losses. And I know that sounds so, like, well, that's kind of silly, but it's about setting yourself up to win every single day. Look, I fail as much as anybody. In fact, I pride myself on failing because I'm willing to put myself out there. But the idea of setting myself up to win every single day. So I wrote the book for my two boys because I wanted them to have lessons from myself, my parents, my grandparents, authors, mentors, all these people into one area. So if dad gets hit by a train tomorrow and he's gone, they have some of these lessons, again, not from me, but from all these other really brilliant people that have come along. And I wanted them to be set up to win. I wanted them to know these philosophies because, again, there's certain things I wish I had known when I was 15 or 18 or 21. I wouldn't change anything, but I wish I had known it because I think maybe it would have looked a little different. And so what is winning? Winning is literally giving it everything you have in the present moment, every single day, living with no regrets. And so often when you talk to people that are either dying on their deathbed, in fact, there's a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying by Bronnie Ware. The biggest one is living with regret. And I don't want any of my kids certainly to feel that way. I want them to put themselves out there, and they may win, they may lose, but at least they gave themselves the fighting chance.
Oh, I love it. Well, it requires introspection like most things. Right. And so in my experience, there's we'll just add 3 categories here. I'd love to get your perspective on each. There's people who know that they're not winning. They know that they're not performing. They have a lot of work to do. And they're interested in doing that work. There's people who know they're not winning, not performing, know they have a lot to do and are not motivated to do that work. And then there's people who's blind to the fact that they're have limiting beliefs or they're short selling themselves or whatever it is. And they need to open their eyes to the fact that they really aren't doing the best that they can do. And I'm interested, like, is winning different for those types of categories, or like maybe kind of riff off of this a little bit? I'd love your perspective.
Yeah. So I like to I put people in typically 3 categories. And again, I try not to label, I really don't. But in terms of people I want to work with, there's 3 people. There's people that can't, there's people that won't, and there's people that don't know how. Those don't know how people, I can work with them all day long. And brother, if they're willing to put in the work, if they're willing to say, I don't know it all, but I'm willing to go get it. If they're willing to get knocked to the canvas and continue to get back up. And I know that sounds so cliche, and I know you hear these motivations, but it's so true. There's a reason people keep saying it from, centuries ago to, Rocky in the 70s to, you continue to hear this. Look, put yourself out there, get knocked down, get back up. Those people that don't know how to do it, but are willing to continue, I can work with that all day long. It's people that have the gifts and the talents, but they just won't, they choose not to. That's cool, man. That's you. That's not somebody I would particularly choose to work with. And that's their own form of winning, which is like one of my best friends, dude. He would sit and just watch movie after movie. He's got 2 beautiful kids. He has a very stable job, but it's not like he's growing. But dude, I love him. He's an amazing guy, but that's his form of winning versus I want to change the world. I really do. And I want to be around people that are inspired to do the same. So I don't know if that answers your question, but the can't, won't, and don't know hows. I love working with don't know hows. Sign me up, man, because I love watching people achieve things they never thought possible, because that revs my engine more than anything.
Yeah, no, that's a beautiful way to put it. Very succinct, kind of distilled the point I was trying to make beautifully. But I'm interested in the won'ts, man. I just kind of, it's hard to leave those people behind. It's hard to, you just really want to get to them in some way, shape, or form. And I think we all have a number of won'ts in our life, that are struggling, especially now with COVID. Some of the, people are just, fortifying themselves in different either political or social camps. They're, I think they're starting to prescribe in a lot of ways to the belief that they're right about everything, and they just won't change, won't ask questions, won't expand their minds. It's hard to win if you won't. So like, how do you get to the won'ts?
Well, I don't know that you do. And here's what it sounds so defeatist, but it's not. Here's the deal. I've never changed anyone's belief, not once in my life. Not one time have I ever had a argument and I said something so profound that they're like, "Oh, JM, you're right." That's never happened.
Come on.
They choose, right? They choose, hey, I'm going to change because maybe they were influenced by maybe something I said or something they saw. Cool. But I cannot want it more for. So let's say, Jake, let's say you were in that won't, and you're this gifted guy, but I can't want it more than Jake. It just doesn't work. No matter how much I push and push, even pull, you're going to say on your time, I'm ready to go. And so you try to influence, but it's one of those things that setting those boundaries, knowing that, you know what, in this case, Jake it's not his time. That's cool. I'll continue to keep him in my life in a certain regard, but I'm not going to put stock into, I'm going to make Jake this. That's not the way it works. Jake, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. I've heard that saying for many years, and I believe it, brother. It's like when Jake, in this case, is ready, that teacher will be there and he'll be ready to go. But no amount of me pulling you along is going to make that happen.
So then, when we talk about winning, I think that there's the challenge might be setting expectations, and I imagine that's maybe a lot of what your book is about. And I haven't read it. I've ordered it. I just haven't read it yet. So like take me through. Like, is it really about setting expectations, holding yourself accountable, those types of things, or like, is there a different perspective that you lean into here that it allows people to win?
Well, again, winning is such a subjective word. What is winning to you versus winning to me? Or like, for instance, let's look at great leaders out there. Mother Teresa was, in my opinion, a winner, but she did it in such a different way than, let's say, Nelson Mandela or, I don't know, Winston Churchill. But they're all famous, unbelievable leaders that absolutely won in life. But their definition of winning was all different, right? One was to help lepers and to help the needy, those that, and that was Mother Teresa. She's got one of the kindest souls, this little woman that changed the world. And that was her form of winning. Winston Churchill took some of the world through the hardest times and inspired them. That was winning for him. So the challenge is defining winning for yourself. What is that? And to me, that is finding your true purpose and bringing that out to the world, bringing your authentic self out to the world. And here's what I always say. Masks are for parties. They are not for life. So every time you put on a mask to try and look a certain way, to try and fit in with the crowd, you are slowly but surely dying, or at least hiding. And I'm trying to get people to take that shit off. Excuse me if we can't cuss, but take that
you
off.
can cuss as much as you want.
Okay. I want them to take those masks off and let them come to the world in their true authentic self, because here's the crazy thing. It's so much easier.
Yeah.
The world deserves it. You deserve it. And so when people can do that, when they can say, screw the mask, here I am. in my naked self, this is exactly who I am. When somebody can do that, in my opinion, that's winning. And for some, that means running multinational companies. For some, that means, being the greatest HR director. Everybody's form is different. Some may be a stay-at-home mom raising 4 amazing kids. That's awesome, but it's your form of winning. Are you doing it to your very best? And are you living in the present moment? If you are, in my opinion, that is winning.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a, like that. It's challenging, I think, for a lot of us to accept that we might be doing it at any given time as well. I mean, there's kind of a dissatisfaction that many of us have as a default operating system, and myself included. I've actually adopted the term being blissfully dissatisfied, as in like I want a lot more out of life, but like right now I'm doing the things that I'm meant to do, or I'm doing the things that I said I would. So I can be happy in this moment. I can be blissful, but the tone of the way that I live my life is with dissatisfaction because that is my driving principle. Now that's not for everybody. Some people can't sit with that dissatisfaction. They have to be, a lot more purposeful with the way that they perceive their happiness in life. But like, I'd love your perspective on this as well. Like, what happens when you win? Like,
Yeah. So
is winning an act or is it a destination? I guess is kind of what I'm asking.
it is an act. It is, in my opinion, excuse me, I should say that it is what is happening in that present moment. So for instance, I believe that if you're not growing, you are dying. I truly believe that. And that goes with your mind, that goes with your body, that goes with your soul. So if you have accepted the fact that, look, this is as great as I'm going to get physically, let's say, in shape, you're going to start slowly decaying because you've chosen the fact that you are no longer going to grow. Same thing with the mind. People leave college or high school and they're like, cool, I learned what I need to learn. What are you talking about? You are literally 18 or 22, or let's say you graduated at 40 years old. You have so much more time to continue to grow. So that's what gets me out of bed, is to grow every single day. And in my opinion, I'm winning when I'm growing. When I ever rest on my laurels and I'm like, cool, bro, I've arrived. And I don't care. For some people, they have a monetary number, and that's cool if you hit that number. But then if you hit that number and you're like, I'm good, guess what? It's slowly going to start declining. And that's just the way I think of winning, is if I'm growing every single day. So that means when I'm 80 years old, I'm going to continue, if I make it there, I will continue to read books because I want to get better. I don't want to ever say I've arrived, because I don't believe in that. I really don't. Now, again, for those that are like, screw you, man, I'm chilling on my beach, sipping a Mai Tai. This is what I want to do. That could be your form of winning. Just be clear. You're going to slowly decay and decline if you choose not to grow. That's just my opinion. So to answer your question, brother, it's absolutely an act. It's a present moment, giving it everything you got, because that's the only way I know how to get out of bed and just go.
Yeah. And riffing on this a little bit more, when you're kind of growing every day, there's the little tactical things that you do. And then certainly there's like big, and I had a conversation with a guy named Brian Bogert recently on the podcast, and we riffed for a while on upgrading your operating system. Right. So like, it's a great analogy because we were like, well, you might be trying to load apps of the modern world on a Windows 95 operating system, right? It's just some things are incongruent, like your aspirations of what you want to do or where you want to operate, and the way that you have foundational elements in your life to facilitate that, the self-governance structures, those types of disciplines or behaviors, they just haven't caught up to your aspirations yet. But pulling forward this kind of analogy of growing every day and kind of upgrading your operating system, the thing that's unique and that I've been thinking on since that analogy is like sustainment. Like when you upgrade to Windows 10, you don't go back to Windows 95, but to the point that you just made, you absolutely can atrophy. And sustainment's the hardest part of process improvement. It's the hardest part of anything because it requires a lot of discipline. So like going back to Let's Go Win, or going back to your experience as well, how do people sustain the growth? How do they stay on top of things?
Well, a couple things. Habits, and I know people don't want to hear that, but I say change your habits, change your mindset, change your life. And I truly believe in that statement. So it is what your habits run so much of what you do every single day. Some are good, some are really bad. And we all own some good, some bad. That's just the way it is. And so being very intentional on a daily basis on what I'm doing and why am I doing it? That's number one. The second thing, and actually you mentioned this, the upgrade. I love that word, by the way, because it's so prevalent in our world today. I upgrade my phone all the time. I upgrade. Why? Because it's better. So I love that analogy. And actually my mentor says, upgrade your story, upgrade your life. He's like, what story are you telling yourself? And the way I look at that, so let's say you are, I don't know, somebody that we deem really successful. I don't know. So everybody's so polarizing these days, but let's say Elon Musk.
Yeah, Elon's great. You know, I got a 3D printed head of Elon Musk sitting back here.
Perfect. So Elon, I think, has done some pretty cool stuff, but is he resting? Absolutely not.
Wow.
He's trying to change the world. But here's what he's also doing. He's making so many other people in the world's life better. So for instance, what I would say to that, so that we have the habits, but another thing is just mentoring or bringing other people along in your journey. Because when you're doing that, and that's why I love what I do, when you're helping someone else, you're getting fed that. And then it makes you want to get better. I just told somebody yesterday, I did a coaching session and it was me talking a lot because they were asking a lot of questions similar to this. And I was like, brother, you have no idea how much better you make me feel. You are making me want to be better today. And it's just because they're inspired. So that feeds me. So that's my answer, is definitely your habits, and then bring someone else along. And Elon Musk is a great example. Like, you may not like some of who he stands for. That's fine. But he absolutely is changing the world for a better place. Yeah. He has revolutionized an entire industry that no one thought was possible, all because he believed he could. So I just believe bringing other people along, you can't help but continue to want to be better and grow and just be inspired.
Oh, I love that. And, you know, it's scary too, though. I mean, like, just like Elon Musk, you know, his energy, his like tenacity, and like the fact that he's like, yeah, I'll drill underground. Yeah, I'll shoot people into space. Like, yeah, I'll make a flamethrower. Like all the things that he's out there doing, it's scary to other people when they're not, I guess, when they don't see it from his point of view. And I think similarly, as somebody who's gone through changes in my life, you know, shed a skin of kind of the past and tried to become a different person, tried to be better in different areas, it's threatening to people in your lives as well. So like the impacts on those relationships, maybe talk to that a little bit, because you've got what, 20 plus years of helping people through changes like this. Like, what are the negative externalities of Let's Go Win?
Yeah, brother, you're talking some deep stuff now, because you were talking about having to shed not only who you were, whatever label people put on you, but also possibly upgrading who you're around, who you associate with. Because you're right, the Musks, the Steve Jobs of the world, everybody thought they were freaking nuts. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Guess what? They defied those odds. They found other people that did believe in their vision, and they said, we are absolutely going to do this. So to answer your question, unfortunately, this is the challenge. Some of the people that have been in your life, and it could be really close. I'm talking family members. I'm talking best friends. Sometimes you're going to redefine those relationships, because I do believe people either pull you up or they push you down. There's no middle guy that's just hanging on like you're sitting there. No, they're either pulling you up or they're bringing you down. Now, does that mean you have to shed them completely? No, it just means you redefine if you allow them to influence your mind. Because look, I'm sure people told you, Jake, why would you do a podcast? You don't know shit about a podcast, blah, blah, blah. And you hear all their fears and insecurities being dumped on you. And sometimes you just got to say, you know what, man? Thanks, but no thanks. I got this. You know why? Because I can. And you can do that in every single facet of life. So Henry Ford is the saying that I use the most. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And so when you say, look, I want to build $1 billion company, if that's your sole purpose in life, you can and absolutely will do it if you believe it. I absolutely believe that to be the case. However, some of these haters and hanger-ons that are telling you, you can't, that's where you have to shed them. And that's painful, because when you're releasing people that have been really important to your life, they've been really, you know, they've supported you in the past and they've always been there for you, good, bad, or indifferent. letting that go, there is a bit of grief that goes along with that. But what comes along is even brighter, unfortunately. So that's one of the challenges, and it's a hard one to do, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Shifting that perspective that letting people go is truly an investment in your future. The way that you part with money today that you could spend on other things in order to put into that long-term bank account. And then, 15 years from now, thankfully I didn't have that crab in my life, the one pulling me back into the bucket, right? I didn't have that individual who's kind of stepping on me anytime I got a little bit of momentum. And yeah, death by a thousand cuts when you got a bunch of people in your life like that, right?
Well, and dude, you just said something really amazing, which is I guarantee you invest. I'm looking at the books behind you and I can't read them all, but I know you're investing in yourself. I hope
Yeah.
everybody heard what Jake just said. Spend that 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, whatever that number is, a little bit more than you think you can on yourself. It's the greatest investment you will ever make. And I see people all the time, hey, go to this $5,000 course. I can't afford that.
Yeah.
You can't afford not to. It's investing in the greatest return in the world, which is you. Please, everyone, hear what Jake said, man. Invest in that. Screw the material. You don't need another TV or a nicer truck or whatever your thing is. Invest in yourself first, and then you can have all that other stuff down the line.
Yeah. And and if you're putting yourself around positivity, it's one of the reasons I do the podcast as well. One of the reasons I find myself so fortunate to speak with folks like you, JM, who are so much further down this path than I am, to get to pulling your perspective and your mindset around some of this stuff. And, it keeps me focused on a regular basis. It puts wind in my sail daily to have these types of conversations. I want to go back to living your best life though. Like this is, again, it's an ambiguous topic. We already talked about how kind of winning is self-defined, and it's just the exercise of going out and being realistic and sitting beside yourself and say, hey, what do I want in my life? And am I truly being honest with myself in that process? There's got to be a canary in the coal mine for people who are struggling to live their best life, like behaviors, things that are showing up that maybe they've gotten used to. That's just part of their life, part of that operating system that we talked about earlier. Like, what are those canaries in the coal mine that you're struggling to live your best life?
Yeah, man, this is the dark stuff that people don't like to talk about. The fact that they drink too much or they don't work out, they have a shitty diet, they have a really toxic relationship. There's something that is happening that's not allowing you to flourish to what you should be. And we all have it, by the way. And don't think I'm sitting on a soapbox saying I don't. I 100%. I have to check in with myself every single day to make sure that some of these demons or toxic behaviors don't get in the way of what I'm trying to go seek, what I'm trying to get to. So the first thing, and you said introspection earlier, this is one of the things that people, and they've heard it a million times, meditate. You need to, man. I don't care if you call it meditating. Like I got my little Buddha chilling next to me at all times. I got 3 around me. I mean, I believe in that, but I'm not saying you have to go that far. Look, just quiet your mind. Ask yourself, what do I really want? Do I want a better relationship with my kids? And let's just say it sucks. Okay, cool. It sucks right now, but that just means your starting point. So whatever happened in the past, leave that back there. Let's work on the present day. So to answer your question, it's getting real clear on what do I want and what's getting in my way? What do I need to do to change? It's always asking these questions to ourselves and then having the ability to be honest. Now, if you're not willing to be honest to yourself, because guess what? We lie to ourselves more than anyone. People will lie to themselves first, way before they'll lie to someone else. And it's so crazy. So let's just say you can't be honest. Do this exercise. Reach out to 5 of your closest people that not the people that are going to give you straight love, but say, look, I want to know what are my 3 biggest weaknesses. Now, normally people aren't comfortable saying that. So you can say, if it makes you feel better, you can also put in the 3 greatest strengths. If you do that on like a quarterly basis, you're going to see your flat sides. Yeah. And it's going to want you to get better so that you can go achieve whatever that goal is. So having that ability to quiet your own mind and then ask others for feedback. Here's the beautiful thing about feedback. It is always ready and available if you ask for it.
Yeah, in corporate culture, I mean, that's something that yearly reviews, like 360 evaluations, like it's a tool that's commonly used in the workplace, but to your point, not necessarily always used in life. Like, why would we not advocate for ourselves in that way to get some kind of viewpoint, or like kind of clean off the lens that we view ourselves with the perspective of the others? Like that's a powerful thing.
The reason people don't like to, and even myself, it hurts sometimes. It hurts to hear you suck at this. Trust me, I've done it for a long time, and I still get the initial reaction, that visceral response is, ah.
Yeah.
But the truth is, that's what I need to hear, and that fuel is what's going to get me to not act that way or behave that way, so I can go. If I really want to achieve that goal, then I got to shed this behavior, and thank you. So whenever somebody gives you that shitty feedback, that hurts, there's only 2 words you need to say. Thank you. Somebody gives you a compliment. This is the other one I've had to learn through the years. You don't need to, push it off. You just say thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a hard time with that. Like just being completely honest. Like it's hard to get complimented sometimes. It's like, I don't, and maybe this is my blind spot or the thing that I have to work on personally, but accepting a compliment historically in my life has added to the balloon of my ego. And like, I just don't have a good shelf for it when somebody gives it to me. So it's easier to just kind of like discard it as instead of honoring it. And it's actually pretty disrespectful for someone to take the time to give you feedback in a positive way and then to brush it off. It's just like somebody saying, I love you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Whatever. Like it's weird when you put it in that context.
Brother, that is so spot on. If I say, hey, Jake, I think you're the most badass podcaster. You're a good looking dude. You're crushing life. You're like, no. Well, now you've absolutely just, like you said, destroyed everything. I was trying to say something nice about you. So instead, like you said, man, thank you.
Yeah.
That's it. Nothing more needs to be said.
And it's funny as well. It's like the hardest thing for me in the last 3 or 4 years where I've really been pushing harder to in my journey is leading with gratitude, right? I'm trying to be grateful for those around me. I'm trying to make sure that people understand what they mean in my life, and to go out and provide gratitude because you're giving others what you need and then not accept it when they give it to you. It's kind of a fruitless effort. If that's the way you go about it. So I'm getting better at it when I'm conscious of it, but certainly sometimes I'm still, still overlooking the benefits of just saying thank you.
But guess what? You know what you need to work on. That's awesome, brother. That's so amazing. And I love that, A, that you talked about gratitude, B, that you're sending that love out there. Because guess what? When that love comes back, that's the way this universe works, man. Give, receive, give, receive. But you can't just give and never receive. If you do that, it just blows stuff up. And so I do an exercise always called the ask give. So afterwards, when we're done with all this, I'll ask Jake, here's my ask of you. And then I'll say, what can I give back to you? Or what's your, here's my give, well, here's my ask. And if you do that constantly, it's amazing how it makes them feel a part of your journey. So anyway, I love what you're working on, man. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and another topic that I understand that you're an expert in is leadership. Right. And so like, we can't go out and talk about winning. We're talking about gratitude. We're talking about all these different things where you're impacting and influencing other people. There's a lot of noise when we talk about leadership and what's most important for leaders. And you can just search leadership and 20 most important qualities of a leader, the 1,000 most important qualities of, it's just a lot of noise out there. Anytime I have experts like yourself drop by the podcast, man, what's the most important leadership qualities or things to think about, or how can you lead others in your life, whether it's your family, whether it's your business? Like let's go down that vein of thinking.
Yeah. And man, I write a blog every week, or an article on a blog. Gosh, I always say that wrong, but I write an article every week, and I've done the same, right? Here's the attributes. Here's the attributes. The truth is there's only one statement when it comes to leadership, in my opinion, that for myself, in order to influence, which is what my definition, that's John Maxwell's. I believe in that. So, and that is, it's not about you. That is, in my opinion, that's what leadership is all about, is it's not about you. So that means when your team needs you to be the most confident, person leading the charge, cool. You do that no matter what fear you have. When your team needs you to give credit to them and not take one slice of it for yourself, that's what you do, because it's not about you. And you can go down this again and again and again. And historically, you've seen the great leaders, they're not these big egos, and that they falter eventually. They really do. Or they go down in history as some of the biggest assholes that have ever been on earth. But those people that truly are able to say, this team and I, this is what we created. My team did this. When you're able to take yourself out of it, here's what's crazy. People lift you up even more because you're willing to share that glory. You're willing to share the fact that we as a team can accomplish so much more than one individual. So when it comes to leadership, brother, there's only one thing that I remind myself every single morning, and that is, it's not about me. That means for my kids, yes, I want to go golf. Guess what? Dad's going to go take them to school, go to the gym, do all of the things, because it's not about me, man. It's about these kids and my wife that I love. I need to show up as my very best self for them, not do whatever selfish endeavor that my inner dialogue is telling me, my ego is telling me.
I love that role model mindset, right? It's like, I'm going to give you my best. It's not about me, and the universe will provide, right? You'll get the happiness. You'll get the 25 years from now, when you're sitting on the rocking chair at the table, you're going to be filled with all of the, I don't know, all of the meaning, right? Like, gosh, like how great it was to be able to give my time freely in that way, and to build the people up around me, or give back to my community, or build those businesses, whatever it is.
No, it's so crazy when, especially athletes, whenever you talk to them and you ask them, was it, winning the titles? Was it this? You never hear that. You will, they get a very pointed answer. Yes, they'll talk about, oh, I won this ring and blah, blah. They always talk about their team, the camaraderie, what they did together, some funny trip. I've talked to a lot of athletes, and I love this because some of them have won gold medals. They've won titles. They never talk about that. They talk about the journey with the people they're surrounded with. And that, to me, again, that was part of being a leader. Sometimes as a leader, you're the biggest follower. Sometimes as a leader, you are up at the front, but you have to wear both hats. That's just the way leadership is. So dude, I could talk on this subject for hours because I'm passionate about it. I love it. And every listener here, you are a leader in some regard in your life. So I hope you accept that. And as you use the word honor those around you by remembering it's not about you.
Hey, you've written 2 books. I want to talk about your process. I love talking about the process of taking these complex thoughts, these lived experiences, these things that you've done, and then, maturing them into text and, distributing it. Like, what was that process like for you? And then, you've written 2. You got anything else coming? I'd love to talk about that for a little bit.
So my process was not ideal for quite some time. So I put all my goals in my bathroom mirror, so I see them daily and it reminds me. And my 8-year-old comes in with the first book. He was 8 at the time, and he goes, "Hey, Dad, how's the book coming?" And dude, he absolutely destroyed me in that moment and inspired me at the same time. I had to look my son in the face, because I'm writing the book for him, and say, Dad is failing, and has been for 3 years. That moment, I decided the book would be done within 6 months. How did that happen? Because I actually put my ass to work. I put my head down and just wrote. Now, does that mean it came out awesome? Dude, I hate my writing. It's like hearing myself on an answering machine. I don't like my voice. So I apologize to all you listening, because I'm like, oh, when I hear it, I'm like, that is how I sound. I'm so sorry.
No, you're great. I feel the same way.
But it's funny. That's how my writing feels, right? Well, like when I read my writing, you are your own worst critic is a saying. I believe in that. So what I had to do is I had to find somebody to work with to help take my ideas and put it in a way that I felt was more digestible. And I found this amazing girl that I worked with. We would interview daily. I would go to work for hours. And so to answer your question, the best process I have for writing is doing it every single day. Put it in your calendar and don't let anybody mess with that time. If you need quiet space like I do, and you have a dog and kids and a wife, sometimes you have to get up really early and just shut the door and be like, I'm writing during this time. Don't mess with me, please. Because the idea of flow is real, at least for me. And maybe that's what I'm telling myself. But when it comes to writing, when I put music on, I can just go, man, and just batter the keys. But if I'm getting interrupted, I will sit there and get in writer's block, I guess people call it, but I'll struggle. So my process is literally shut that damn door for an hour every single day, go to work. And to answer your question, yeah, man, I'm working on book 3 and 4. My wife does not want to hear that. So let's hope she doesn't listen to this episode. But yeah, man, I'm working on that. I love it. I absolutely love writing. It truly allows for reflection and shows me where I can be a better human and how I can improve in so many ways. So it inspires me every day. And I hope that it inspires some other people when they read it.
Yeah. And, you know, speaking of the inspiration and kind of like the daily, weekly doses of it, you got the Let's Go Win podcast. Who's that for? And why'd you start that?
Yeah, brother. I think it's very similar to your platform in terms of, I love just getting stories from people, entrepreneurs. I've had 2 dentists on that were freaking amazing. Now, I don't think of a dentist and go, wow, they're going to be dynamic. Dude, these guys are awesome. And they're truly, when I think back to some of the athletes are really good too, but I mean, it's getting their story, what they do with the money that they've achieved and how they're helping the world become a better place. So that's the whole idea. We talk about failure a lot. I love to ask that question of how do you deal with failure? Have you failed? And here's the thing. If I can get them vulnerable enough to tell the real story, that's when I know it's going to be a good episode, because breaking down, not what's great, dude, we don't need to hear about how great life is. I want to hear about the muck and what you had to get through to get there. So like you said earlier, I get more out of the podcast than I think any of my audience, because it literally electrocutes me when I get to do one of these. I get so excited to get to know another human being very closely. And here's when I knew this was going to be gold. I interviewed one of my best friends that I've known for almost 25 years. And I learned so much about this human being that I thought I knew everything about. There was nothing he was going to tell me that was going to surprise me. I walked away shocked at how little I knew about him deeply. That's why I love podcasting. So it's awesome, man. And I truly, truly am fortunate to have found it.
Yeah. It's similar stories here, man. I buddy of mine's a banker, and he came on last December. And he reached out to me, and he was, you know, giving me some props for, you know, getting the podcast going. I was like 25 episodes in, something like that. And then we started talking, and I realized he had a really interesting journey as well. And that, you know, he had struggled with his drinking, and he had been sober for a while. And I kind of floated the idea. I'm like, brother, why don't you, like, I know that that's kind of a thing that you don't always talk about. I know you're a career professional, you're vice president of a bank and all this other stuff. I'm like, Kyle, why don't you come on and just share your story? It's one of the most popular episodes of the podcast. And we've had multiple people reach out to him. I've had multiple people reach out to me saying like, hey, that helped change my life. Like, I stopped drinking. I did that. I'm like, I never imagined kind of the externalities of conversations and the way people ingest them and the way that they incorporate it in their life. And like, what a powerful thing that long form conversation provides us, as opportunities to dig deeper into individuals and to touch people in ways that we never thought we would.
Dude, I mean, Kyle sounds amazing. And look at how many people he helped just by truly being vulnerable. That's what's so interesting, man. I don't know how your growing up was, but mine was boys don't cry. You put on a certain masculine front. The truth is, you want to reach somebody, you truly be vulnerable. When you look at let's say Golden Globes or Emmy speeches, you don't look at the really sanded speakers and go, oh, I remember that speech. You look at the people bawling, telling the story. That's the ones you remember. And I'm not saying go around crying. That's not my point. but truly sharing a piece of yourself, not the way you want to look to the world, but truly showing. That's what Kyle did. That can move people, man. That's awesome. I'm going to go find it. I got to listen to it.
Yeah, I'll shoot you the link. Also, before we start wrapping up, you touched on something earlier I didn't anticipate talking to you about, but I'd really like to now, which is, you talked about your kids early on. You said you had two sons, right?
Uh-huh.
And like this process, you said it's like kind of breadcrumbing or like leaving kind of a legacy behind, leaving the positive thoughts, some of these kinds of things that, will help them live a good life. How has this process changed you in that way? Like, I'd love to talk about how putting your focus, time, and attention in elevating others or writing about it or talking about it. How does that show up in your day-to-day, like personal life?
Yeah, that's a great question. And if you were to ask my mom what I said I wanted to be when I was 5, when I was 10, when I was 15, I wanted to be a dad. So my purpose in life outside of, Let's Go Win, which is all about inspiring them, that's where it started. So my purpose in life is to be a dad. And so everything that I inherited, some really good, some really bad self-limiting beliefs from my parents, I wanted to do my best not to impart that on them. So I'm answering your question in a long way,
Yeah,
but
let's do it.
I have literally, my kids have said the exact same daily affirmation every single day of their life since they've been able to talk. So my oldest didn't talk till he was almost 3.5. So I was saying it every day. And then eventually when he could talk, he did. My youngest talked at 10 months and I asked him the same thing. I say, are you a leader? And until they say yes, I wait. Yes, Dad, I am. How come? I'm confident, strong, intelligent, athletic, good looking, dynamic, popular, talented, independent boy with growth mindset. Now, why did I choose those words? I don't know if I were to go back. I think I was thinking they're going to get their ass kicked, knocked down. People are going to tell them they're not good looking, they're not popular, they're not confident, they're not dynamic. And I want them to know that they are. They absolutely are these human beings. And so I wish I'd made it shorter. I wish I'd said you're confident, strong, and intelligent, something along those lines. But they won't go to bed. My 15-year-old still won't go to bed without me doing this. So when I'm on the road, we're on the phone. Hey, man, are you a leader? And he goes through it. And so I guess to answer your question, that's how it shows up, because everything I do is focused around showing up as my best self for these two human beings. My wife as well, she gets the short end of the stick when I talk about this. But look, I can't truly influence her the way I can these boys. And I want them to be really good human beings. I really believe they have a bright future, but they make me better every day. So that's how I want to show up. And that's what drives me is like, all right, do I want to be a guy sitting on the couch, not spending time with my kids, like truly being present? Or do I want to take my kid fishing? Trust me, there's days I don't feel like going fishing, but I don't want to look back at him to go, oh yeah, my dad was that guy just sitting on the couch. No, my dad was with me. He was present. He gave me everything he had. So if I die tomorrow, man, I hope that's what they say. But that's what drives me every day is those two kids.
And if I can add a sentiment here to what you just talked about, like in my opinion, and I'm still kind of working out this perspective. So, feel free to contribute here. In anything that you do, or most things that you do, you're either acting as an employee or a professional. Now that's a hard jump to make, but stay with me for a second. You're either an employee of your life, which means you're just kind of day to day, just doing what you're told. You show up as an employee, as a father. It just means that you're checking in and checking out, right? The difference in the employee and a professional is intent. And I think you just talked to that. Like I'm intentional about this. I am doing this. When I do something, I'm a professional at that thing because I'm going to outwork people here. I'm going to do what's necessary. And then I'm going to do beyond that. And so like how you're showing up, whether it's fatherhood, whether it's in your business or, how you even work for another person's business, are you an employee or are you a professional? And what's your intention like? And it's a beautiful thing that you just expanded on there, because now I've got to go back and reflect. Am I punching the clock? I think I'm a pretty good dad, but I think there's some areas in my life I'm just punching the clock as opposed to being as intentional as I could be. So thanks for that.
Well, brother, that was literally, I've never heard that. That's profound. There's only one thing that hit me, and it's So there's amazing professionals. There really are. But what if it was taken to the next level? There's employee professional and then there's legends, right? Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
Muhammad Ali's of the world, where he put in more work than anybody. I don't know. That's just my only thought to it, because I love what you're saying. And there's a lot of amazing professional athletes or professional basketball. And then there's LeBron, then there's Michael.
Yeah.
Just a thought, but I love what you said. I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah. And maybe jumping that, maybe making that jump has a lot to do with the leadership conversation we had earlier. Maybe it has a lot to do with the core values, the disciplines over time, and just becoming, legendary. Legendary denotes time. I mean, it's hard to be a 19-year-old legend. I mean, there maybe there's some at on college campuses, or Van Wilder's out there or whatever. I don't know, but it's But again, legendary would be subjective. But yeah, thank you for that. I definitely continue to unpack it with that perspective.
Well, I guarantee you're being legendary, brother. You put yourself out there more than most human beings just by doing what you're doing right now. I know that. So, but I've never thought I'm going to write on this. Like, I'm excited to go write on this, because I think that the world needs to hear that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, my man, what do you got coming up? What are you doing? I mean, you got a lot of stuff in your ecosystem. So let's hit it. Where can people find you? And then let's part ways.
Yeah, brother. Thank you for that. They can find me at letsgowin.com. Everything is Let's Go Win. So it's letsgowin.com, Let's Go Win podcast, Let's Go Win 365 on social media. I truly, if anybody heard something, whether you liked it or disagreed with it, I'd love to talk to people about it. I don't believe I know that much other than what my perspective is, and I would love to get yours. So yeah, Jake, just, man, thank you for the time, brother. You're doing amazing things, and I love the way you host the show. It's so it was fun for me, so I hope everybody else had fun doing it, and I truly got a lot out of listening to you. I at least have the next article idea that I'm going to be working on for sure. But truly, brother, you inspire me to be better, and I appreciate that.
Thanks, Jamin. I appreciate you having on the podcast. Looking forward to next time you and I get a chance to sit down and talk, whether it's on the show or in person.
Yeah, me too, man. You'll definitely, I'll be having you on mine for sure. There's no doubt.
All right. Cheers, my man.